Thank you all for being here to premiere the movie. Thank you, Don. I have a million things I'd like to talk to you guys about, but first, for Don, I really say this so sincerely. I speak for myself, everyone in the audience, and millions of people around the world. Thank you for your amazing work.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I don't even recognize who the guy in the movie was. I mean, I was younger, right? I think. Anyway, somehow, as I'm looking at it, I hadn't seen myself like that, just looking at it. I looking at it and I said to myself, that's a bossy guy. I didn't think myself that way. But anyway, it's a good look in the mirror. Thank you very much, David.
So I have a few individual questions for you, Don, to start this off. I am so curious, how the hell did you get a job at Disney at 18 years old?
You know, I don't really know how to answer that question, except that I had been dreaming about working at Disney Studios since I was 4 years old. So that's a lot of time, you know, to prepare and do that. And when I first went out there with a portfolio, I didn't even know what a portfolio was. They told me to bring one, and I asked my mom, I said, what is that? And she said, we got to go buy one. So we went and bought one, and I spent all night drawing drawings and putting them inside it and took it out there and gave it to them. And they said, they looked at the drawings, and then they went and said, can we just wait here? I want to go to someone else and see what they think. So in came 3 other men and said, nice drawings. Do you mind if we take it and show somebody else? This happened 3 times. And then they said, we'll call you. And went back to the car. You know, Mom says, don't you dare cry. Don't you do anything. You're just happy. Before I got home, driving in the driveway, my brother came running out of the house. They said, you're in. That's what I said. That's what I said, really? And they said, yeah, you're starting on April the 19th. So I said, wow, that was it. And they put me in a little room and said, now you're going to have to learn to in-between. So it wasn't at all what I wanted. But it was just a great experience, you know, and I have a feeling that, you know, the man driving the train was pushing things, so I just took a ride.
I think this is for also all the students in the audience, but everyone's like, okay, well, that's great that you got to show them at 18, but how did you get in the door? Like, what was it? Did you send a letter? Did you send some art? Like, how did you get the meeting to possibly work there?
I knew a man who knew a man who knew a woman who knew somebody at the studio. That was really actually what happened, and my aunt drove me the first time. I was just going to be a tourist, you know, just go look at Disney. She drove me, and we got lost. And by the time our time for the appointment was over, so she drove me back home. And I don't know how it happened, except then she called someone and said, "Can we come over and look and show a portfolio?" And so I got a phone call that said, "Make a portfolio and come and see us on this date." I don't know how it happened.
It's amazing, though.
Yeah, it should happen to anyone in this crowd if they want it.
For sure. For sure. So as you can tell, I'm wearing a Dragon's Lair t-shirt. I absolutely love the game. Did you ever think when you were making it back in the 80s and Space Ace that people would still be playing it today and still talk about it, and like Netflix is developing a movie on Dragon's Lair?
I had not a clue. Actually, the reason we were making Dragon's Lair is because we didn't have any money to make the next feature. And so we didn't think it was going to be anything. We were just sort of doing it, and it didn't matter if it was good or bad or whatever. We just animated and did it. But it turned out to be the thing for which I will probably be the most remembered, which is weird. Because how is it that, you know, you don't even know when you're doing something what the repercussions are going to be? You don't know that. So anything that you do at all, give it everything you've got, because you never can tell where it's going to take you. But Dragon's Lair was this, and like I said in the documentary, you know, money arrived in paper bags. And getting a paper bag full of $10,000 to go into a bank is really difficult. They don't believe you.
One of the things, but I wanted to talk about the paper bag money. At any point, I'm so serious, I had no idea until I saw the doc. How did you, like, were you nervous each week that the money was going to stop?
Well, absolutely. Life is totally nervous. everything that you do, you know, it can stop at any time. But I always believe that if a door closes, a window opens. I really believe that. And because I really believe in God, and I believe that he's driving the train. And if he wants you to be somewhere and do something, you will. So I'm not going to worry about it. Let him worry.
There are going to be people in this audience that have never seen any of your movies. And listen, I am sure it's true. If someone has never seen your work before, what is the first one you'd like them starting with?
Go see Secret of NIMH. That's the one. That was the movie that we made when we were the most innocent, when we didn't know what we were doing. And so we tried harder. And the story was really, really good. And it set the tone for the rest of the movies because it was really about a little mother trying to save her family. That's all it was. And every movie after that followed the same pattern. So it's all about Bambi. There's a mother trying to save her little son, trying to get him to grow up. Every one of the really good Disney movies that I've seen is about that. And then they can go off and they do something like Tron, you know, or they do something... or, you know, even if you do movies nowadays, they're making all the old animated films into live-action movies. And some of them look pretty good, but for the most part, you know, make up your own stories.
I'm so happy I didn't wear a Tron T-shirt today. Let's talk about how this film actually happened. Was it difficult to get Don to sign on? Were you immediately like, what took so long? Like, how did this happen?
It was difficult to get Lavalle to sign on because Lavalle is Don's right-hand man, and he and Chad and I had so many conversations about why we felt like we were the team to tell the story. Chad and I had made a picture called I Am Big Bird about the guy that played Big Bird on Sesame Street, and so we had this track record, I think, of working with a beloved artist who really deserved a story to be told. And so once we got through Lavalle and sort of talked about our vision and things like that, Don was like, yeah, sure, let's do it.
Can I add something? So I run the studio with Don, and we get a lot of emails or phone calls. A lot of people wanted to make a documentary about Don's life, and it just makes sense to make a documentary about, you know, the legend that's sitting next to me. So a lot of emails, and then you know, these guys came, and I love I Am Big Bird. It's it's my favorite documentary, and I knew that these guys were the guys to make this film. So thank you guys for doing it for us.
One of the things about Don is that there's so much you could talk about. And one of the things about documentaries is a lot of the story, from what I understand, is found in the edit. Because you can go in thinking, this is our story, but then the edit in the footage tells you something different. So how did the story get shaped in the editing room once you had all the footage?
That's a Chad answer. So Chad also edited the film, and yeah, so you should probably talk about that.
The movie, and Don, you said this in one of our talks, it tells you what it wants to be, you know, along the way. You go into it and you think, oh, we're going to make it like this. And then you start seeing the footage, right, and it's influencing you, and you're like, oh, actually, maybe it wants to be more like this. And then you have amazing open talks with Don, right, which then influences it again in another way. And so, like, early on in the Big Bird movie, they shot tons of archival stuff, and it was all them and their love, you know, and we thought, oh, this is a love story. It's telling us what it is, you know? And with this movie, we realized right away that Don's love was animation, and all the footage was creating animation, you know, the story behind why he fell in love with animation, and so it just kind of revealed itself. And then, you know, we got all this amazing footage. We literally walked in... From here, right? That was amazing. That's a gift. And then also at Don's, first time we talked to him, we're like, okay, Don, that's a great talk. We'll see you later. Hey, what's that box over there? Looks like it has film reels in it. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. Here you go, take it. And, you know, and you get it developed, and it's that amazing 1980 interview, all the raw reels, you know. And so it's just like it shows you the way.
One of the things I was curious about is did you figure out the red shoes as a through line from the beginning through the movie?
Well, that, again, came from a conversation with Don. Like, Dave and I had not seen the movie, and then he told us about the movie and how he thought it, you know, represented what being an artist was. And then we went and watched the movie, and we were blown away, and we were like, that's got to be the start of the movie, you know?
You know, there was a moment when my partner, I think we were married. I don't know, some kind of marriage. Anyway, my partner, what he did, he has his own wife, by the way. We were married in the business, and he gave me a great big poster one time that had a picture of some ballerina shoes that were all wrecked and torn and everything like that. And it says at the bottom, "Keep on dancing, Dawn." And I remember the movie The Red Shoes, because once you got those on, you know, you can't take them off, and they're enchanted. And so even if you say to yourself, "I want to stop dancing," they won't. And that kind of sounded like a symbol for what I was doing in my own life. You know, was I chasing something that I shouldn't have been chasing? I don't know. I don't think so. And at this point, do the movies do any good? Does it really help any of the society? There were 12 of them. I know that. But I think they did some good. I think some people got something out of them.
I'm 100% sure. So one of the things about footage, especially older footage, is getting clearances, which is a real tricky SOB. So talk a little bit about, did you have any footage that you really wanted to use but couldn't actually get the clearance?
Fair use is our friend, I think, in a lot of ways. Also, when you have a story like this about someone that has touched so many people, I think what happens are people are willing participants. And so the clearance process has been one of, you know, honestly, like unearthing where ownership lies, because so much stuff is old, and going back and finding where that stuff originated from, particularly if it is in a box that's found at Don's. And so, yeah, it's just been it is a slog, right? That's the sort of thing you don't see. And I will say this picture is, I know this is sort of a larger Q&A panel, but these are the people behind the film. It was like a very small team. And so kind of everything we did, from the edit to the digitizing stuff to all of the music to the clearances, this is the team.
Fergal, I definitely have some questions for you, but for people in the audience that might not know, you're one of the founding members of the Cranberries. And yeah, I'm sure at least two of you had no idea. So I'm so curious. Again, there are going to be people out there that might not have heard any Cranberries songs. What's the album or song you want them starting with? Like, what's the album or the song you'd like them listening to if they've never heard a Cranberries song?
Probably the first album. Everybody else is doing it, so why can't we? Because we were 18, 19 years of age, just beginning on this journey. And we, like Donna said about Secret of NIMH, we were just these innocent kids who wanted to express ourselves. And that was the beginning. So I think, yeah, that's the place to start.
What you were going to say?
Yeah, I have to tell you something. This is kind of personal in a way. But when I graduated from high school, I had never read one book all the way through. They have a name for that. It's called illiterate. So I went to the college, I have some BYU, and I went to the college, and there was the art department. I looked at the people in the art department, and they were really weird. They dressed weird. They had long, long hair down there. I said, I don't want to be that. And so the other thing was English. Now, of course, if you haven't read a book. So I went into the English department and found out that it's filled with girls, by the way, who have read everything that's ever been written. And they knew all the answers to everything. My first class, I remember I went in there, and there sat the professor, and he said, okay, who is the villain in the Scarlet Letter? Of course, I knew how to milk cows. I didn't know how to answer questions like that. But what I'm getting to really is, by the time I got through the English department and went through the mission and went through everything else, I wrote a book. I wrote a book. So anyway, it's out there. It's called Somewhere Out There, My Animated Life.
More stories.
I wanted to continue, if you don't mind. What was it about this project that said, I want to be involved, I want to do the music?
Well, I had seen some of the movies that the guys had done before, and I just felt that the way they tell a story is all about emotion, and it's real. There isn't any kind of smoke and mirrors. It's from the heart, and that's what really appealed to me. I think the honesty and empathy.
If I could say one thing about working with Fergal, so the Cranberries are my favorite band of all time. Fergal knows this, so I'm not going to totally fan out here, but that was why we first reached out about maybe doing a project about them, and he was like, no, but let's, and I said, well, maybe we could talk about doing some music, because he had done this album, and it was instrumental and beautiful, and so all of a sudden we had this conversation, and we talked about a couple different things. And then like a month goes by, and we just started getting tracks, like wild tracks that Fergal had read Don's book or watched a movie and would think about it and send us these tracks. And that's a way Chad and I have never worked before. We always sort of worked off of temp tracks. And so it really, at a very critical time of the film, shaped what the musical character of the film would be. So it was really, it was like more than a dream. It was really a fun process.
Yeah, I am curious what it's like as a composer. Do you start thinking about it before you've seen footage? For this project, was it all about after seeing the footage? How long did you actually write music for?
There was a lot, with this project, there was a lot of ideas that were coming from the guys saying, imagine this is happening. Like Don is working with his friends in the animation department, and they're discussing certain things, and I'm there, what kind of emotions are they feeling? Are they happy? Are they sad? Are they anxious? And we discuss things like that. And for me, it's always about the emotion. What kind of emotion am I trying to portray, or is the director trying to portray with this, and how can I help accentuate that, or whatever?
Yeah. We also worked a lot, right, on like what are the musical themes in the movie? What's Don's theme? So like at certain points you can like kind of hear the same bit kind of over and over that might cue you to a certain emotion, or maybe I got to pay attention a little extra to the story point. And that, I thought that was a lot of fun,
I'm always curious about the editing process, because it's where it all comes together, especially in a documentary. The movie's like 84 minutes, give or take, right? How long was your cut that you're like, it's never getting shorter than this?
Yeah, what we saw at the end. What was great about this is that we all, we took our time making it, and we didn't have, like in the movie, that battle between art and commerce, right? We didn't really have that commerce part of being like, that can't go in there. It needs to be longer. It needs to be funnier. And so, like, really, this is like straight from all of our hearts, really, this movie. And so, of course, you build it and you go, oh, that's bad, and you take it out. But that's the reason you take it out. It's like, bad, not like, oh, dang, I wish it was in there. Well, it'll be in the director's cut that's going to be 4 hours long, So, yeah, it was just like a joy to edit it. It was a joy to like communicate, go back and forth, and just making the movie. It was like pure joy, the pure art.
Yeah, and we made our last change to the movie, I think 8 days ago, and then press send.
Yeah.
Because we really wanted to open it here because of the obvious connection to the university.
Talk a little bit about what it was like collaborating. Like, did you see an early cut? Like, how did that happen? Or, because I think you saw it today for the first time.
That's partially true. I've seen the previous cut, but tonight when I saw it, and I had a strange reaction to it. I was sitting there saying, I don't know what I'm looking at. Because it represents a part of my life, but it brought back memories. Every time I'd see faces that you never identified there, I knew those people, and I knew their families, and I knew their lives. So it was really much deeper as I was looking at it. And did you capture what went on? I think so. And I think that what happened is I found myself feeling something that I thought were dead feelings that had passed. But they weren't, and they came right back again. There's something about working with people. You mentioned several times in this thing, the thing called the Blue Note. Have you ever heard of it before, anybody at all? The Blue Note is a name for that moment in which it's not just you thinking thoughts, but you're being inspired. And you never know when it's happening. You can ask for it, and it could happen, or you could not ask for it, and it will happen, but it is the source of creativity. And if you are hooked into that little moment, the Blue Note, writers know this well. They call it writer's block. Oh, you heard that. Okay, writer's block is kind of the same thing. When that Blue Note is not playing for you, you're all by yourself. And it's just you, the pencil, you, the paint, and whatever it is, and nothing will happen, or you will be copying what you've seen other people do in the past. It isn't original. But with the Blue Note, new things happen. And I'm writing a second book. second book right now. I'm writing another book. And this one is called The Blue Note. And it's meant to instruct those who are younger, who are getting started in their life, whose alter ego is saying me, saying that it isn't just the me. If you can somehow say it's me and some other power that are working together. I love the movie that says, God is my co-pilot. I think it's the other way around. I'm his co-pilot. But there are moments when ideas come to you and you say, where in the world did that come from? And some of you may have known that, but if you haven't, you're in for a really great experience. So think Blue Note.
Yeah, I'll say that that kind of became like a little theme when we were making the movie, like a little joke we would throw around. Like when I'm editing sometimes, your hands are just moving, you don't know what they're doing, but it's just like ideas are coming and you're grabbing things and you're putting it together. And then Don gave a name to it. And then there was a time where Fergal was just writing music at this crazy tear, and it was when you were writing the Blue Note cue, actually. It's like you're in the Blue Note writing the Blue Note cue. It's pretty great.
There was a moment in, the Messiah, that wonderful thing. Handel created the Messiah. What the history was is he went into a room and he said, don't disturb me. And he was in there for 10 days. They were pushing food under the door. He was in there for 10 days writing the Messiah. He said, don't disturb me. I can hear it all in my head and I have to write it down before it goes away. Isn't that amazing? That could be happening to you.
I was curious. We didn't finish about the edit and early cuts. And did you see anything where you're like, oh, do we want to include this? You know what I mean? Like that back and forth.
Somebody said the word shit. I wondered, and I that was him, though. It wasn't me saying that, and so it was really good. But I thought it was pretty good. It shows his vulnerability, so leave it in.
I wanted in that scene where Don meets Walt, where you met Walt.
Oh,
that was an important, epic moment of your life. And I was like, you guys, you got to.
I was sweaty. We'd just been playing volleyball. We were in our gym clothes, and I was really just covered with water, sweaty. And he was coming down the ramp, Walt was. And I turned, somebody threw the ball at me. I caught the ball, turned, and ran right into him. Right smack into his chest. I ran into him, and I thought it was very symbolic that I went down, he did not. And so at that moment, I'm laying on the ground, and there's that moment in Bambi, where the young deer is looking up at the stag. That was me looking up at him. And so anyway, as I looked at him, I couldn't see his features. All I could see was the shadow of a man standing there, very tall. And that's when he spoke. And the words were like most beautiful words. If you'll slow down, my son, you will go further. And then the great stag turned and walked away. And I became the laughing stock of the studio for the next 2 weeks.
There's not too many people in this room, and probably no other people in this room who have met Walt Disney.
Yeah, maybe there are. I don't know. You can never tell where people go at night.
I'm going to say it's probably just you.
No, but you know what? I wanted to meet him, and I had planned it my whole life long. So by the time at Disney's, I kept seeing. There was another moment I saw him where one of my fellow companions said, Walt's out there, and they're filming him as the host of the Mickey Mouse Club. He says, come on, we can hide in the bushes, we can watch. So we sneaked out, we hid in the bushes and everything. There's Walt, Kleenex around his neck, putting makeup on and everything, and he's going to introduce the Mickey Mouse Club. So anyway, we're hiding there, and I'm looking, and that's the first time I saw Walt. And I saw him, and I said, wow, this is exciting. He says, shut up, be still. We don't want to be caught here. So anyway, we're watching. So anyway, I heard the director say, okay, we're ready for action, roll it. And he said, okay, action. Walt started talking. Welcome to the Magic Kingdom. And all of a sudden, he flubbed the lines and just went into swear words. And I fell backwards in the bushes. I said, Walt swears. A farm kid doesn't know anything about that. But Walt swears it. He said some of the good ones, the F words, everything, they were all there. And anyway, so I said, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And then I became the master of swear words.
I can't believe that. I definitely want to touch on, if you don't mind, when Roy wanted you back at Disney, and because it's such a big moment, it's one of those life crossroads where you talk about in the film how you had your family was the studio and all the people and all the employees and their families. But can you sort of talk about what was going through your mind with the option of going back to that place that was your dream as a child?
Well, I know one thing, that alter ego that I spoke of, which is the thing that says me, it's a very selfish kind of individual. I knew that I was in love with all those people at the studio who were there supporting, making the art grow, everything. I knew their children. I knew the families. I knew everything about them. And I was saying to myself, can I walk away for Dawn, leaving them all there? Of course not. Normal human being wouldn't do that. I mean, that would be the worst thing ever. And I'm going to go back to Disney and think of all the people that I betrayed. Couldn't do that. But what followed was amazing, because when I said that to Roy Disney frowned immediately, and he said, "You made the wrong answer." He says, "You need to come back." He said, "We have power. We have lawyers. We will crush you. You can't win this." And he was right.
The interesting thing is how the studio went after your films in terms of releasing other movies at the time or very close to when you were releasing films. And here's the worst part is it's still going on in Hollywood today. When like an animated movie comes, like they go after each other still. It's just, you'd think everyone could survive in the world of art, but not at all.
The crowning, the most wonderful blow was we made a movie with 20th Century Fox called Anastasia. Guess who owns it? That's right. That's right. When the rights were given to Disney Studio, and I thought, well.
There's a lot of students in this audience, and I know that there's a lot of people that want to do what all of you do. So is there any advice you'd like to share with everyone to, do what you're doing?
I'm going to get a little emotional for Chad. Find your Chad, because we've been a partnership for 20 years, I think. We actually started working together at Blue Sky Studios and started making docs on the side. What's up, Blue Sky? And so I think the reason that this is maybe my favorite film we've ever done is because it is probably the most purest expression of what we've done together. So for me, I couldn't imagine being a creative that's alone in the world, honestly.
Yeah, I concur.
I got one. Are there any animators out here? Our animation artists? Everybody. I love it. Well, Dawn has a school, so once you guys are done here at Savannah, come to Dawn's school.
I teach it online. It's kind of fun, though, because people who come there, it's really inexpensive, but the people that come there, they don't know how to draw. And that's the thing. And then the next thing I say, well, okay, if you can figure out how to draw, make a drawing that's decent looking and not just a bunch of scribbles. Can you make every drawing that you make, every sketch that you make, represent a human emotion? Not just a drawing. Don't just tell me I'm drawing the model sheet. Make it represent a human emotion. So when the viewer looks at your drawing, they say, "Oh, wow." The worst thing they can say, "Oh, that's cute." I've heard that for a long time. But anyway, I think if you can make that happen, it's a good thing, because drawings are more, they're symbols. They are more than just than lines on a page. They have to be representing something much deeper. And if you don't ever get there in your drawing career, your drawings will always be ho-hum. So try to feel what you're doing.
Isn't that the illusion of life?
Yeah, that is like the illusion of life. But what's really important, and I think the Blue Note will help you get there. So you have to think in terms of the spiritual part of you, and I believe that art is spiritual, not temporal. It's spiritual. So the feelings you have in your heart, and your heart is an organ in your body that beats, right? Are we talking that has feelings? That doesn't make any sense. So the heart has got to be some kind of a term that we give to the spirit, the real you that lives inside the corporal body. That heart, I'm using it again, that heart is the thing that's feeling things. Your spirit is feeling things. Make your drawings represent that. And that's what, it took me a long time to learn that. But I know right now, and I can sit down and make a drawing, and I can say, that's complete trash, throw it away. Unless it has a spirit that reflects back. And that's a little harder, but it's an abstract thought. So all of you who want to be animators, kind of think that way. Am I drawing drawings, or am I drawing symbols for thoughts?
I've never seen a bad drawing of Don's, just so you know.
I do it while you're sleeping.
Is there anything that you'd like to share? Any advice for the students?
Me? Yeah, just follow your heart. Yeah, that whole emotional thing. It's more in a lower region, kind of in my stomach here, that I feel it. If something isn't going right or feeling right, it's kind of there, and it's like, okay, maybe I need to take a step back and relax a little bit and come back to it again, and then when that feeling comes, that you know it's right, and yeah, you're in tune with your emotions, I think, is an important thing.
Yeah, I would just add, like, a big theme in the movie is the battle between art and commerce. And so we've experienced this. This is why it's so good to have a partner that you can lean on, because in that battle, you will be told thousands of times that it's not good enough, no, we don't want it, and you really have to believe in that art and know that it's good to kind of push on through that, and like just never quit. Like, people will tell you no for tons of different reasons. Very rarely is it that you're not good enough.
I wish I could ask you guys 1,000 other questions, but we are out of time. I really want to say a huge thank you to all of you for coming out today. I want to give a huge thank you guys for premiering your movie here at SCAD, the Savannah Film Festival, and everyone have a fantastic festival. Yeah, Don Bluth, everyone.